Nikita, the owner of Face Naked Studio Permanent Makeup Academy and Spa. Today I'm going to introduce you to my techniques and my means and methods of working with clients with respect to permanent cosmetics. Today we're gonna do the old eyeliner correction. She apparently had it done years ago and then it turned grayish blue. So not a problem, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna help you understand how to properly fix the problem. We also do in black, yet the shading can be done in dark brown. I think it will really highlight your eye color, and it will not look as dramatic. Also, it's very important for us to make sure that every single bottle that we have on our dolly that we use would be individually wrapped with the film to create the barrier between any potential bacteria and germs. We change that wrapping after every single client, as well as we sterilize the room entirely, floors, walls, bed, dolly, our permanent gun. Everything must be sterilized, re-wrapped after every single client. Don't try to cut the edges, as sometimes it will cost you double. Besides the fact that it can cost your client potential health issues and complications. Following the cross-contamination patterns are very critical in our work. There is a huge responsibility for you as the permanent makeup artist, and you're liable for any possible bacteria that can get into the client's skin. The other thing is, my girls that work for me think that I'm crazy, but I think that it's the proper way of handling your client. I always work in double gloves. No matter what happens, I always change my double gloves. Usually it takes about 5 to 6 times during the procedure that I change my gloves entirely. The reason to me wearing double glove is simply because I treat every single client as well as myself during each procedure, as we both potentially can carry something. So that's a double protection for me as a practitioner and a double protection for my client as well. The other thing is, let's say you're working on a client and all of a sudden something happened and your hand slipped and you punctured one of your gloves. You still have the other one to protect you and your client. So we always have to think the client comes first, yet your health is very important as well as you work with the public. So as I stated before, now I know which colors I'm going to use. So I'm wearing the same gloves. I got my pigment bottles. I'm filling my containers, pigment containers, with the appropriate amount. And as soon as I've done that, I'm changing my gloves. I've seen so many practitioners do not use gloves during the pre-mixture, pre-drawing process. I personally and professionally against that method of work, simply because you do not know entirely what's going on with your body, and maybe sometimes we do not see visually any signs of thrush or any signs of potential diseases that both of you might have. We might don't even know about it. Therefore, from the time the client comes in, we have to always wear gloves. As you can see, everything that I use, the pre-drawing pens, everything is rubbed in a film. I also always clean the tips of my pencil, my surgical markers with the alcohol. Just to make sure that everything is clean and sterile. Yes. I can see it. One of the signs of getting now would be seeing that the client's eyelids are turning white. That's the first sign that it started working on the client's skin, yet it's not a final sign that she's holding on. So I suggest for the first round to always keep the anesthesia on your client's eyelids for at least 7 to 10 minutes. Sterilize, therefore we're using the permanent makeup sleeve, which will protect our gun and the cord from any potential cross-contamination issue that we may see. I do use NPM around 60 machine. That's a pricey machine, yet I do suggest you guys to use that specific machine, especially for the beginner, as it will show you what proper speed you should use, which needle you should use. So with this specific client, we will be using 7RS, as I said, and as I'm setting my needle, I have to make sure that I can see the tips of my 7 shaded grouped needles for about a quarter thickness from the gun. That's how you're going to make sure that you're not going to go too deep and you're not going to create unnecessary trauma for your client. Remove the first primary numbing solution. We have to make sure we're doing it very carefully so that it's not getting into the client's eyes. It is safe for your client's eyes, just in case if it's going to get into the eye. The pH level is between 7.5 to 8.5. Yet I personally suggest to try to be very careful to create as minimal discomfort to the client as possible, simply because this is not the most pleasant procedure. We are not used to having someone getting into our eye with the needle, putting the pressure on our eyelids, stretching it. Therefore, this is your job to try to be as careful as possible. So what I do is I just take a sterile clean gauze and I just dab it to make sure that I'm taking all the numbing solution off her eyelids. And then I will just pre-draw it simply to demonstrate to you how to do it. The quickest and safest way would be to ask your client to open up their eye, and then we can take just a simple Q-tip and we will measure where the client's wing should go. So we know this particular line. And the reason why we do it is that we always want to make sure that we will create natural eye lifting effect. Some clients would ask you for an almond looking eye, so that's also a way to create that particular look, but also to make sure that your lines are symmetrical, and as an end result her eyes will look symmetrical. You should always start with your left eye. That's the most difficult eye, whether it's eyebrows, eyeliner, or would be your lip definition creation. You always start with the left. So as we drew the shape that the client desired, we will start with fixation of the little wings that we created. And as I stated before, in permanent makeup, less is more. We want to create natural look, as that is something the client is going to live with for at least 3 to 5 years. So we need to make sure that she's comfortable, she can go without having anything on her face and still look confident and not look too dramatic. I had clients that would come and ask me to create a very thick, high wing, and I personally suggest to talk your client out of it, simply because this is something that we use only on special occasions as we go out or any special event, but during the daily life, that is something that we can always pre-draw with the eyeliner or pencil, and just pass the event or pass the need that we have. So I'm gonna start with fixating first my client's eye wing. Pay attention on how I'm stretching her eye. This is very important, as the skin on the eyelid, as I stated before, is very thin. It's very delicate, therefore the better stretch you're gonna have, the more control you're gonna have, and the better crisp result you're gonna have. So we're gonna start with fixating of the wing, and then once we do that, we will reapply the numbing solution and jump on the other eye. And after that, we will do the correction color, and then we'll start filling it with the black and the shading. We always communicate with our client throughout the procedure. It's very important to make sure that their comfort level and their pain level is tolerable. The first pass that we do might be a bit tinglish. For some clients, that's actually a ticklish sensation, but there is a little percentage of people that would feel the pain. That's the only first pass when they're feeling the pain, and after that the secondary anesthesia will help. So what I'm doing is I'm stretching her eyelid, making sure that I can have a good access to her wing. That is something that is a must to be done on the first pass, because once we're gonna start being invasive, the skin will get into the defense mode and the swelling or reaction to trauma will occur. How does that feel? Feeling any pain?
No.
Perfect. Now, as I always say, don't work where you don't see. If you don't see it, clean it. Make sure you see everything and move forward. Always analyze your client's skin reaction. Try not to rush, as the feeling of going faster is not necessarily going to bring you the result, yet you definitely will traumatize your client's skin. And now as I fixated her wing, I am stretching her eyelid, although make sure not to put too much pressure. And slowly filling in the lash line. When we do the eyeliner, it is a must to start with doing the eyelash enhancement first. Here we were able to implant the first lash line pretty much from the first pass that we attempted to make. Now I'm gonna go at the bottom. I'm sorry for stretching your eye. How is that feeling in the bottom? Good. So at the bottom, we also go pretty slow, yet in the same type of back and forth motion. When you work on the lower eyelids, try not to make that crease line, yet create that shading line, as when we do the crease line underneath, it actually visually makes our client's eyes look smaller, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we will open up, lift our client's eye, but at the same time keep her in the utmost natural looking way, as the whole idea of permanent makeup is to create that natural look where you look like you're wearing some makeup, yet nobody can see that. So basically, I know it's uncomfortable, but we stretch, and we have to make sure we are getting in. Now it's completely normal for client to have tears, watery eyes, blinking, trying to give you a bit of an opposite reaction. That's completely normal, and that's why it's your job to make sure that there is a proper stretch in place and you're not just moving your needle back and forth without implanting any color. So our client Elizabeth is an absolute hero. She survived the first pass without any swelling or side effects. So, and that's pretty much what we want to accomplish on the first pass. I'm gonna put the secondary anesthesia on her eyelids. As we open her skin, we want to make sure that the numbing solution will go in and make it completely painless and comfortable for her. And as she's numbing on this eye, we're gonna go onto another eye. Now, some permanent makeup artists are preferring to work sidewise. I personally suggest to work from the top and be behind your client, as it gives you a better vision of the lines that you're trying to create, and basically help you to avoid any uneven lines and possible mistakes. And as we know, this is not a marker, this is permanent. Therefore, your job is to make sure that you're on top of your game all the time. So we're stretching the eye, and we start with, how does that feel on this side? But you're still feeling it on this one, right? Okay. So here's the other funny part, actually. Left side on every female that I have been performing permanent makeup and paramedical cosmetics, whether it's gonna be an areola, an eyebrow, an eyeliner, a left side of the lip, left side of the blush, you name it, it's always more sensitive. So try to keep the anesthesia, secondary anesthesia on that particular side longer. I'll just open the skin, I know it's sensitive. And again, we only work where we can see. If we can't see it, we don't implant it. Yet let's say you made a mistake and you implanted your pigment somewhere where you were not supposed to. If you caught your mistake early enough, meaning within the first 2 hours, you can always take a simple saline solution, dilute it with the 1/3 of the water, and apply over the unwanted area. What's going to happen is the saline solution will neutralize that pigment, and once the client is going to heal, she will not have that unnecessary, unneeded pigment. The other way to stretch your client's eye would be like this. So you kind of lift it, and that gives you that perfect vision of that lash line that you have to work on. You can see with the second pass takeover how we camouflage that blue line and how solid and creased our lash line is now. So we don't see any more blues and we don't see any more grays. We got taken care of it. Now pay attention that how I'm holding my pen. It's always vertical to the skin. It's never sideways. Otherwise you're gonna traumatize the skin and you're not gonna end up implanting anything. So we work against the skin. Vertical position. Some of you have been asking me questions such as what am I cleaning clients' areas with. I buy a little individual sterile water bottles that I open right during the procedure and use on every single client individual bottle. We never reuse it, so if we opened it and didn't use the entire bottle, we just throw it away. That will help us to make sure that all the safety regulations are followed through and our clients' health is protected. As you can see, this is my second pass, and take a look how beautifully done, top and bottom. And we apply the secondary anesthesia. I usually use numb pot. I use comfort zone for eyes. I use numb pot mixed with the duration. I find it very effective. And the direction of the gun and the needles on the client's eyelid. We are not in a rush. We're moving back and forth. To make sure that we did not miss any spot. If your client has a very, very thin skin, I always suggest to work on the Vaseline. So what you would do is, once you clean the numbing solution, you would apply a thin layer of Vaseline, and then you will start implanting. So as we work 3 passes on the client's eyelids, we're gonna start working through the Vaseline, as I said, as it's already pretty traumatized, pretty tender, and we are on the final step of the procedure. So we're gonna create just a classic shading using black and brown. And once she's gonna heal, then she's gonna come back for a touch-up, we will decide if we want to add more contrast. So the way how we do our shading, that goes from the in this particular motion, creating little dots. Stretch and create little dots. Don't overdo it, just lightly, especially with the brown. Most of the time it feels and looks like there is nothing in there, simply because we see a bit of a trauma on the eyelids originally, but once the eyelid heals, the pigment gonna surface. So with the brown, you don't want to overdo it. You can always add it. And we're gonna do the same on the other eyelid.
How many weeks is it to come back to check?
Well, we will stay in touch, but I would say about 4 weeks, not earlier than 4 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks is the safe time to come back. We want to give the skin enough of time to heal, the pigment enough of time to fully surface as it heals under the skin, and whatever we see on top right after the procedure, it's not the final result. So as I'm doing the shading, I call it the cage movement. So it's basically crisscrossing of lines or dots in 3 different directions, and that's what gives us very light implantation of a pigment that creates that shadowing look. So as you see, as I'm taking my Q-tip and removing the pigment, here's my shading. So basically, this is our shading. It will reveal more as the healing process is gonna start. We don't want to overwork her eyelids, as besides creating more trauma, it's not gonna really bring us in. There is the end result that we want to achieve. So basically, if that would have been your brand new client who didn't have any previous eyeliner done and you didn't need to do the correction work, you would be able to implant way more shadowing wise. But simply because we did a double process of the color correction first, then eyeliner implantation, and then the shadowing, our eyelids are already very tender and very sensitive. So I'm just gonna do the last line, and I'm gonna clean her eyes with the eye drops. Let her lay with a little bit of a sterile water called compress to help with the swelling. That's the other thing is, if you have a client like that, don't try to overdo it or complete it all at once. There's gonna be nothing but the damage. So that's why we always have 2 sessions at least. Doing it also carefully as her eyes are on fire right now. Also, I suggest you use a high quality eye drops. Don't try to save on your supplies, guys, because this is your client's health. Try to use organic eye drops, or eye drops like Lumina that will help your client with any possible irritation.